Let's call the meeting to order, and let's have roll call.
Agnes Fornarski, chairperson.
Present.
Dana Syvertson.
Here.
John Kamish.
Here.
Peter Hahn.
Here.
Seth Marcus.
Here.
I'm Jill Moskell. Ed Madden is running late. We have a quorum.
Okay. Approval of minutes of regular meeting of July 12th.
I'd like to make the motion that the minutes are approved as so written, and an excellent job by Jill once again.
Thank you, Dana.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes approved. Okay, next is old business, update on workday schedules. So our last workday, we had Isaac Walton Park. It was very nice. We got a lot done. We moved back the bridge that was always there. We planted a lot of plants. We cleared a lot of brush, a lot of buckthorn resprouts, and overall I think we had a really good time and a good turnout. And our next workday will be at the Sedge Meadow this Sunday. There's just a little bit of teasel left, and it would be really nice to get it all. And all the sedges are ready. All of the sedges and rushes, bulrushes are ready to collect. And I'm planning on having like a nice canopy tent so that we can have some shade, because there really isn't a shady area there. And it would be nice to just have an area where you can just go and take a break and have water and relax. And we can have our picnic there too after the workday. Any questions, comments, updates? No?
No, I just might add that last workday, we were actually able to open up all the trails at the
Oh, right.
slough.
That was the
And
major
all the
part.
marking went up, so they're totally wide open for business, and they're getting used big time.
Yeah, there's been a lot of use. I've
They're in
seen
great
people
shape,
every day.
yeah.
Mhm. You even said that you saw someone with a baby carriage going on the trails.
I did.
So, they're good for a baby carriage, they're good for, yeah, a lot of people have been using the trails. Okay, the next item is the continuation of intern assistance with Jeremy Schultz.
Okay, we had asked Peter to check and see if we could transfer the funds from our operational budget for the rest of this year and into 19 to Jeremy's account for his internship that has been approved. So Jeremy now has, I think it's like 120,
45.
145 hours. Yeah, I've got it, but it's in the briefcase.
Yeah, and then Gabby
And then-
still had 90 hours, but she probably used maybe like, there's still 30 hours that will be left over from Gabby.
Right,
So
that
I
will
wonder,
roll
can we,
over to,
can we roll that over to Jeremy?
Roll that over to Jeremy. And then a few of us commissioners plan on making a donation to extend his internship into the summer. We're also encouraging him to apply for a one-year internship in Nebraska.
It's actually a fellowship.
It's a
Mhm.
fellowship. It's really an awesome opportunity. I think he's really well qualified. If any of you would like to write an individual letter of recommendation on his behalf for the position, which he is going to apply, that would certainly be more than welcome. We plan on doing that, and we've asked the mayor to.
Do you have the contact information?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we'll forward the link to everybody. We just got the information today, so.
It just, the application opened today. We knew about the fellowship because it's been an ongoing fellowship for the last 6 years. It's a really nice paid fellowship with benefits and on-site living, and
Health insurance, benefits, everything.
but just a lot of training that was really great, a lot of educational experience.
At one time, there was a discussion, and I don't know if this was sort of something that's potentially, really possible or whatever, about the whether it be the Park District or some organization in the city, hire someone with experience in nature restoration. Is that something that is like a legitimate possibility?
I don't know that either of those organizations have money or inclination to do that. I mean, we haven't made a presentation to actually pitch the idea to either organization. I think that would be the first step, is to see if there's any possibility of creating a position like that.
I think it's our sort of like our dream for the future.
Mhm.
I don't know if it would coincide with, for instance, Jeremy and his timeline of, I mean, it's not like it's going to happen within the next 2 or 3 months.
Is it something, understandably, it's not 2 or 3 months, or maybe not even 6 months or a year, but is it something that we should start sort of grooming the city or park district to prepare for the possibility?
I think so, but it's, I think, I mean, in my opinion, just the fact that we have the internship, it's sort of a start, and we haven't had the internship from the park district this year. So I think it would be difficult to expect them to have a full-time position for natural resources, position.
Doesn't mean that we shouldn't pursue it.
Absolutely.
Certainly, but I think maybe the upcoming project might be a place to try to bring the issue up. With Public Works looking to do more of the maintenance on that. I mean, it's maybe
Well, the problem is that there's a specific type of training and understanding and ecological aspect to the maintenance.
Mm.
I mean, I remember at the last meeting, one of the aldermen asked, can we contribute with some help with landscaping? And actually, landscaping is detrimental to the
Restoration.
I mean, it's a different type of land ethic, I guess, to managing plants and wildlife. So that's the issue. I feel like it's not like, there would have to be some training involved.
Mhm.
Or there'd be someone have to be trained in it.
Right, I feel that it would be quite a great dream and have it realized if somebody who understands nature restoration would be part of the full-time staff. And understanding that budgets are things that are planned well in advance, and understanding that this would be quite a chunk of change, it seems to me it would be reasonable to start making it known that this is part of our long-term vision.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. And I think, I think it's more that you sort of have to change the ideology of how they do stuff now. I mean, I think that as you naturalize more and more areas, that the jobs that are currently in the Park District and Public Works now, where they're just mowing, sort of change and become more aligned with restoration. So you would look to a restoration technician to train those guys and to educate them and supervise the work they do in restoration, so you don't have disasters like we get now when they go and do landscaping on the natural areas. So I think, yeah, it's something we should definitely, try to do, but I think there's a mindset change that, has to happen, and more of a commitment out of the Park District and the city to naturalize more of the public areas, so.
I also feel like everything that we've done is still really in its early years. I mean, we've only been doing this for a couple of years, not, all of our projects aren't even fully mature. And 4 years, right? 4 years. So I don't know if the support is there yet in that capacity. I don't know if we just don't need a little bit more time.
A lot of organizations have, long-term plans or 5-year plans or visions or whatever, vision statements. And maybe it's something our organization should do, not expecting it to be realized within a year or two, but if we can say this is what we hope our efforts will lead to, and start planting the seed in the minds of the mayor and the city council, et cetera, that this is what we're hoping it will lead to.
Right. Well, we've mentioned it.
We, Seth, when I first joined the commission, we started down the path of putting together a strategic plan for long-term and short-term. We got to point X and we just got so busy with the actual work that it sort of dropped off the radar. I'll forward all those plans where we left off, and you can look at it. I think it's something that really needs to be done. I mean, the more of that long-term strategic planning that we can do, the more credibility we have, and the more of a roadmap and guidelines we have for our own, because when we get busy, I mean, it's like the last thing you got is time to go reinvent the wheel and figure out how it turns. So if that's something, you'd like to work on, I would be glad to work with you on it. And maybe it's time for that to come back and come to fruition.
I think we have a mission statement, but I think, having a 1 year, a 5 year, and at least a 10-year plan is definitely reasonable and should be done. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, then I will, I'll send you what I have. I'll send everybody where we left off with the strategic plan. And then maybe that becomes an agenda item for next board meeting. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody else?
Hmm.
Okay. So as far as continuation of intern assistance, we're just gonna,
Yeah, that's.
So how far will he work to, end of September?
depending on how much assistance he receives from the donations. Right
Okay.
now, he's got, I think it's another couple of weeks.
Okay.
So we're gonna contribute
I
funds
think it's
for the
3
next
weeks,
couple of
something
weeks.
like
What?
that. 3 weeks.
2 or
I think.
3 weeks?
Yeah.
Mhm. But, yeah, ideally it would be to like September, October.
Okay.
And that internship starts in January.
Oh,
The application
fellowship.
deadline, the fellowship, yes. And the deadline application is September, I believe,
Okay.
21st.
great.
Okay, next is the seed greenhouse program. We've already collected some seed. It's already in pots. The greenhouse program, we lost a lot of plants with the flooding, but we still have many, many plants. We've planted thousands. They're all doing well. We'll be collecting some more seed this weekend. I don't really have much to say about it. We've already, we have some plants that are set aside for the project, which we'll talk about for the Park District. And then we still have many areas that we can plant plants. I hope to get rid of all of them by the end of the season. Any questions about the plants? I do have to say that it's just wonderful, all of the help that we've had from all of our volunteers that come out on Wednesdays, and Poplar Creek coming to transplant and take care of the plants and plant them. It's been really great. Okay.
The presentation to City Council and to increase public access in the wetlands, and I want to incorporate the MWRD questions that we have here. We made the presentation last month. The presentation was well accepted and it was approved in concept. It's, of course, at this point, a complete hold until we understand what the MWRD project is really and truly all about.
For the portion of Hillcrest Lake.
For- yeah.
For the slough, it's,
Well, the slough is impacted there by Willow Road, so deciding what happens there is still part of the whole program. We met with Joe Wade and Peter out on Willow Road that afternoon, and we discussed the concerns we had, and Joe asked us to come up with a list of questions and concerns that we had to present to MWRD so that they could prepare to address the concerns that we had at the presentation on the 27th of August here in City Council. I hope everybody can make that meeting, but what I'd like to do now is to focus on these questions, and I sent them out to everybody. I have a copy if anyone needs one. This is essentially a,
Wait, may I clarify something?
Yeah.
On August 27th, is MWRD going to be at that meeting?
they will be here to present the
Okay.
whole project at this meeting.
Okay.
So I've sent everyone the questions. Let's give that a copy here. And so I guess my question to all of you is, is there anything you would like to tweak or expand upon with this group of questions? The goal is to try to modify this tonight when I go home and get the email out to Peter and Joe so that they can pass it on to MWRD tomorrow.
I guess I have a question.
Yeah.
It especially focuses on your very last question, which to me is one of the more important non-biological questions.
Mm-hmm.
At the city council meeting the other day, when my small portion of the presentation, to say it succinctly, my question was, will we get to see the plan before it comes as a complete plan? And my understanding of what I heard from Councilman Scott Williamson was, I thought I heard him say, I'm paraphrasing and I might have it wrong, but I thought I heard him say what I said made a lot of sense, but before he expressed comment, they needed to talk about it privately, they would vote on it and let us know. I know there was some other discussion with Joe Wade, et cetera, but what became of Mr. Williamson's comments?
Nothing to my knowledge. I mean, at least I haven't heard anything. Is there been?
I didn't know they were voting on something.
Yeah, I didn't either.
No, I mean, I think this is so preliminary right now. I mean, the MWRD is just coming to council to present a preliminary plan. There's no final anything.
No, but what I asked was that we get to meet, I was asking permission of the city council, and the city council had to vote. My understanding is we were not allowed to,
Correct.
to approach the MWRD without the city council's permission.
Right.
Yes.
I asked the city council on that night, I'm asking you, city council, can we approach? And Scott Williamson said, what you are saying makes sense, but before you can approach MWRD, we have to vote on it to say whether it's okay whether you approach MWRD.
Correct.
He didn't, what became of it?
I don't know any vote that was taken.
So,
If they gave permission, they would have reached out to the NRC. So if there was no communication after that, I would say that they haven't given permission yet.
so that sort of addresses Dana's last point is, you know, when we make these comments, the last thing you say here is, will it be able to be modified and incorporated any recommendations from us? You know, will we have the opportunity to make these recommendations and look at the plan before it's finalized? Again, that was hopefully the point of my comments, is that we would be able to see the plan before it's finalized. And again, that's again, my understanding of Dana's last point here, and that was what I was asking the council, and that was what Mr. Williamson said they vote on. And again, if the plan comes to us on the 27th as a completed plan, or a mostly completed plan, I think that's the gist of your last comment, is it?
Yeah, that is, but my understanding of this meeting on the 27th is that it's as much fact-finding as it is presentation
So do
on their
you,
part. Peter, am I wrong? It's not a fait accompli?
I don't know,
Okay.
to be honest with you. So, I mean, nothing, the MWRD comes to the council with something. The council, I'm sure would be able to make changes to it, or at least put some input into it, so.
Right.
And that would be you guys telling them, I have concerns here or there. So that's why you should show up on the 27th.
Yeah, we'll be,
I don't believe the 27th is going to come and MWRD is going to shove something down the city's throat.
right,
I could be completely wrong, I don't think that's going to happen.
right.
I think they're here primarily to start moving the project forward and say, hey, listen, this is what we're envisioning, this is what we envision for this project, this is what needs to be done because of the compensatory storage and all that, engineer-wise, how we have to build the bridge over the culverts and all that. So I still believe there's some wiggle room there. Again, that would have to be from the council to MWRD, unless the council votes and decides that you, as the advisory commission to the council, can directly go to MWRD and negotiate on their behalf.
What I would recommend, Seth, is that you send Ludvigson an email and follow up with him and ask him where it is and what happens next. They have a meeting, I believe, before this meeting. They have a
Workshop?
workshop. Is that right, Peter? They have a workshop before, so there's no,
No meeting on this month.
okay.
That's historically, that week doesn't, the workshop of August is always canceled, just so it always coincides with a mayor's vacation. They do a little
Yeah.
break, first workshop in August.
I think there's been a lot of hearsay, and there's been a lot of, what the plan is, and I'd really just like to hear what MWRD has to say first before we sort of jump in. I mean, we hear all of these stories about 6 feet and 3 feet and 2 feet. I think this is really just preliminary, and it's really important for us to be at that meeting to understand what they plan, and if there's anything we feel is going to negatively impact
Yeah, we
the
make that
wetland,
case, yeah.
then we definitely appeal to council to be involved in the process and to,
So Dana, do you think K is answered?
No, at this point, I don't think it's answered, but I mean, it's a question
that's,
that I think gets asked at the Joe passes on to MWRD to get their input on it. I mean, that was the purpose of this.
these are all unanswered questions.
These are questions and concerns that we as a commission have about the project and how it's proceeding and who does what and all the rest of it. This is our chance to ask questions. And the intent of the questions and the concerns here is for MWRD to prepare before the meeting based on these questions and concerns so that they could adequately answer them when they give their presentation. So that's a purpose of this list. So
So these are going out to the MWRD before the meeting?
yes,
Okay.
right. So if there's anything we want to tweak or any concerns that we want, anything you guys want to add to this, that's the purpose of the discussion now is let's modify it the way we want to so that I can go home tonight and finish this document off and then get it to Joe and Peter and they can get it off to MWRD tomorrow.
And just to make sure I understand, so the city council is not going to meet between now and the 27th?
No.
Correct.
But I don't think that excludes following up with Ludvigson, with Williamson. I would still send him an email and ask him where it is and what the intention is there.
Okay.
Well, I think the list of questions is nice and comprehensive. It covers a lot of different issues, not only from a natural standpoint, but from a resident standpoint and all that. So I like it.
Okay.
When you mentioned the wetlands, are you referring to both the
Yes.
slough and Hillcrest
Yes.
Lake? Do you want to maybe, when you say wetlands for the first time, put in parentheses, identify the two areas?
I can do that.
Where you have the question A, and then you have question I, which also talks about elevations, would you like to put that one after the other?
Yeah, I can do that.
Mhm.
I guess A and B, because we talk about, well, that talks about grading.
I guess it's somewhere in one of these questions, you asked the question, you basically separated the two entities, the slough and the lake, but we all know they're connected.
Right.
So I think, I would hope the MWRD looks at them as a connected entity as well, and not two separate. I mean, this falls into the question with Hillcrest Lake and all that issue as well. So if it's addressed as one wetland, I think it's more of a comprehensive way to look at it.
Do you think we need to spell that out in one of these questions?
I forget which one it was.
F, maybe?
Rural wetland has this, yeah.
Maybe, and will it affect the lake differently than, affect the ecology of the lake differently than the slough?
F is close.
That's the closest one.
maybe-
Or if you're identifying that it is one wetland in the clarification that Jill's suggesting, you could just say both sides of the wetland.
Maybe it gets incorporated in number 2. How's the project been accounted with regards to the overall watershed? And then add the, put the information in there about the 2 different bodies, and are you considering them to be one entity for that purpose? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But keep in mind, the overall watershed is much larger
It's-
than
yeah,
just
It's
this.
everything going in too.
No, I
We gotta be
understand.
careful with our terminology.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what we're asking is, how has this project been accounted for in terms of, with regards to the overall watershed?
Right,
In
but
other
that's a
words,
separate-
what is the impact of this? Yeah, you're right, it is a separate question. So that's not the place to put it.
Right.
Right.
And I think maybe impact the watershed is a better word than how has it been accounted for, because
Okay.
that's very open-ended.
Okay.
I think impact is a stronger word.
Okay.
Because both sides of this wetland are just a small part of the overall watershed.
Yes, absolutely. I think you're right
I
with F
suspect being the MWRD, they should have accounted for the entire watershed.
I'm sure they have,
And I would hope that all these questions
are easily
are
answered.
easily answered with their presentation.
Agree.
I mean, the thing, and what prompted this in my mind is you've got now compensatory storage all over the place. You've opened up the flow between the 2 bodies of water. That has to have some effect on the watershed. And so all the question is asking is, what were you thinking, and how did you see it impacting the overall situation? Is it completely benign and it has no effect whatsoever? I would have a hard time believing that that would be lock, stock, and barrel answer, but, so it's just a general question to try to understand, does this change anything else anywhere else? It's like you make all these changes, and then the spill pipe is purportedly the same spill pipe that's there now. So you've increased the flow through, so it flows through faster, but it can't get out any faster.
Well,
So-
you're not only increasing the flow through it, you're actually causing detention along the path. So you're
Along the way,
causing,
so,
you're
yeah.
causing more area, more space to hold the water. So you're not really moving, especially if there's if there's compensatory storage upland, you're not really moving the water faster.
Well, that's what we're looking to find out from them.
Yeah.
We're trying to get them to explain that so that we fully understand it.
Well, I think that's more of an understanding versus a,
Explanation.
I think we had a
Understand.
good baseline for these questions, and I think that we're going to learn a heck of a lot more at that meeting.
I agree.
And then that'll generate
More questions?
more questions, and we can knock some of these off the list,
Mhm.
and then we can
Had a few.
add a few. So we might be a little premature on jumping too far beyond on some of these questions without really hearing what they have to say.
Right, right. Because they could very well address all of these, and it might be a great plan, and we
Right.
could be sitting there saying, wow, great, that's wonderful. It's
Right.
actually going to improve everything.
Well, I mean, that would be the greatest outcome possible.
Sure. And that's a possibility.
My only concern is flood control.
Yeah.
It's a big issue in Prospect Heights, and the Park District wanted more area for residents to enjoy Hillcrest Lake and the wetlands. I've always thought that Hillcrest Lake could be developed into a reservoir, deep lake for residents, and also act as a flood reservoir control. And I'm wondering if MWRD or the city has looked into that.
I believe they have, but dredging is very complicated. It costs,
I think they
Just-
said the original estimates
Yeah.
were like 2.3 to 5 million.
it
Well-
was just way
Yeah.
beyond. And it, actually, it's sort of looked down upon ecologically for the health of the wetland itself to do that.
Yeah, I just think that that land could really be developed into something more than just raising roads. Just, I think it's a waste of space. It really was never a lake. It could be really really an asset to Prospect Heights, like Lake Arlington is. I mean, it's right there with McDonald Creek. That's my only concern and question, if they've looked at that. If they're going to do, I don't know, $1 million project, why don't they wait and do a real good project to benefit a lot more people and control floodwaters? Same thing.
Right, well, I mean, I think it's a delicate balance between controlling floodwaters and making people happy versus ecology and health of the wetland and nutrient recycling and fish and wildlife. And sometimes I think that the two don't always coincide, and they don't, one doesn't benefit the other, or the other doesn't, can hurt the other. And,
Right.
Water flow is important, and, I mean, I'll tell you, I don't want to see roads raised either, but on the other hand, when you have the flooding for 6 days and it's on the street, it's also covering all of the vegetation, the plants and the wildlife and the insects and the larvae and the,
Yeah.
and the amphibians and flooding out muskrats. And so
Right.
that's an unnatural process. And unfortunately, we live in a really residential community where flooding happens. There's more impervious surfaces. There's a lot of water coming in, and it's coming in fast, and there's more development, and we can't really change that. We can't take that back. It was different 50 years ago, and I guess we have to accommodate in some way
Yeah.
to make it good for everybody.
Yeah,
You know?
I just don't see where raising the roads, and culverts are going to solve, a lot of the problems of flooding. I just don't see it.
Well, that's, I think, one of the things we hope to learn from this presentation is what was their intention? How do they see the manifestation of that intention, and what do they anticipate the results are going to be? So until we have that presentation, it's almost like going back to where we are with the plan. I mean, we can make a general plan, and that plan, is okay to a point, but we can't go any farther till we know the specifics of what it is we're going to actually be dealing with when they're done.
Plus, keep in mind, I mean, the purpose of this, as I understand it, is the road floods during heavy rain events. And that's because the road is low relative to the wetland. And so the fix is going to be to raise the road. So that's the project, is to raise the road and alleviate flooding and closing the road. Now, the question becomes okay, but what impact is that? And Peter, if I can ask you, is that Old Willow, is that a county road? Okay, so is this actually a county project, and the water?
Be involved as well.
Right, but this is really the county's project, and,
We're taking probably about $400,000 or $500,000 on this $3 million project.
all right,
So, and then it's going to be funded by 3W. But we have to get county approval as well.
all right. So is it the county that's overseeing it, or is it purely the Water Reclamation District? Okay. But still, that's the purpose, is the flooding of the roadway, and the remedy, and the whole impetus here is to alleviate that road getting flooded. So
But not only by
that's-
raising the roads, but that compensatory storage will also,
Everything spills off of that, literally and figuratively.
right.
But again, that's the purpose of this, is, so I think, honestly, what we're gonna be looking at is, they're gonna be looking at with that focus of fixing the road, and then just dealing with the consequences of that, how the.
Yeah, but I also feel like, I know that's, stormwater management has always been sort of, let's get the water off the road and let's move it along faster. I feel like both on WRD and with newer projects and everything that's going on, right now has a little bit more focus toward the ecological value of that. It's no longer making a
moving
deeper ditch
floodwater.
and moving floodwater and creating these larger channels to just move dirty stormwater through. It's more
It's not just an
ecologically,
engineering.
yeah. And I hope that that's going to be the case, but we don't know. Well, I think we should just wait until the 27th and find out what they have planned.
But the questions are solid, and I can't think of really adding anything to them.
All right, then I'll make the modifications we've discussed, and I'll
Send it again.
send it again. and then we'll pass
Now we
it on to
could
Peter.
tweak it again, and then we'll have a couple of rounds, right, where you send it around.
Oh, I'd like to send it out to those guys tomorrow so they can get it to MWRD. I mean, if we've discussed it, I mean, we've changed accounting to impact. We're moving A and I together.
And then we're gonna include something about
And then just
separation of wetlands.
and clarifying that
Right.
it's really one wetland.
Right, and point out the fact that the lake and the sewer really, we
Right.
consider one wetland.
Right.
Right, I would like, you know, it'd be great if the MWRD could have this sort of ASAP so that they really can address the questions and have
Yeah.
them ready, have answers ready.
Right. Okay.
So I would suggest, and if I understand correctly, just make those changes and send them on.
Okay, I'll do that then. Is that cool with everybody?
That's
That's
cool.
fine.
All right.
Okay.
The Prospect Heights Park District project, it's well underway. They've completely dismantled everything around the patio area. They're rebuilding the walls and creating the pockets where they want us to plant. I'm a little bit concerned they have a lot of sand and gravel in the areas where we're going to plant, but it looks like today when we went by, they actually dug out a lot more of that.
Can I just stop you? For people watching this, hopefully on TV or on the webcast, what you're referring to?
Oh, this is the patio area at the Moravia Center, right behind the.
By the concession stands behind the pool.
Concession stands. The Park District came to us and we voted on it, we approved it. They wanted to, rather than just put down pavers or pour concrete in that area, which is now all laid block, it was falling apart. And so they had to redo it all. But in the redoing it process, they wanted to add naturalization to it so that it had more aesthetic appeal.
Pollinators and,
Pollinators and more nature, so they asked us to create planted beds. And so they're in the process of redoing everything and creating those beds for us to plant. We'll do it on a work day or a Wednesday or whatever. We have the plants sitting there waiting, so that's the project. Okay, any questions about that?
Nope.
Okay. Moving on to the Nature Speaks program. Joel Greenberg is next. I just heard from Terry yesterday that Joel has returned his contract, so he is set. Seth, I wanted to get the turtle guy's name again, so I could reach out to him. We have no one else lined up at this point. Laura, Chris Anker's wife, John suggests that she's not keen on public speaking, so we probably won't pursue that one, her B-talk, so. We're back to looking for speakers, so that's the update there. The interpretive signage at the Nature Preserve, we're pretty much still where we were last time, except I'm much further along on the last two signs. One of the signs is a welcome to the Nature Preserve and talks about the project and, ComEd and the city and the Park District and all that. The exit sign, I wasn't sure. The idea on these big 24 by 36 signs was to put one at the entrance on Elm Street and one on Pine Street, where you actually start the nature path. They could be identical as far as I'm concerned, because if somebody's coming this way or they're coming that way. Or they could be two completely different signs. One functions as an entrance to the park and the other one functions as an exit. So I wanted to ask you guys if you had any opinions on it.
direction.
Well, I would think that if they were kind of uniform, because the assumption is people will be coming from different directions. So what might be the entrance for someone would be the exit for others, and maybe just think in terms of context of both,
Okay.
you know?
Having said that, I think far more people will be coming in on the library side.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What street is that?
That's
That's Elm.
Elm.
So, I would bet that 80% of the people enter from that end.
Although I got to tell you,
And if you put more
anecdotally,
information on two separate sides.
anecdotally,
figure
when
it
we've
out.
been there working out, I've seen the majority of people coming off Pine,
Right.
right? I mean,
Right. Well, having two different ones offers the
Yeah.
opportunity of having more information.
More
too.
information, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, there's that aspect of it, but.
Could
True.
you have one facing, how can I say this? If you're entering, you see this sign. If you're exiting, you'll see another sign, like have them both, but have them turned. So on either side, depending on where they're coming in.
Oh, I
It's
see.
2 more signs.
Yeah, that would be
I
two
know.
more
Some more
signs.
signs,
Yeah.
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 I mean, the flow is just, it goes, they go straight through from one end to the other, or they'll bail out at the tennis courts and head down the hill, so.
But you're
Um,
right, if they're exiting, they'll see the back of the sign, right?
Well-
Because it's a sign going this way,
Why
right?
don't I do this, why don't I finish the entrance sign, I'll send it to you guys, and then we'll look at it, push it through that question that I just asked. Okay? All right. New business.
Summer interns. So it will be Gabby's last day. And,
That's tomorrow?
mhm. And so we're taking a field trip. That's been the annual field trip with the interns to show them like a beautiful natural area because they've been working so hard all summer. And even though Jeremy's not ending yet, he gets to participate, of course. And so we're going to be going to Bluff Spring Fen, which is just beautiful in the morning, and in the afternoon to Poplar Creek, of course, as we do every year. And John Navin will meet us there at Poplar Creek to lead us around and show us special areas. We've invited all you guys, but I know everybody's busy. Maybe it was a little too last minute. So,
Give her a big hug from all of us.
yeah, we'll take pictures too and send on to everybody. As far as, future interns, we should start thinking about that,
Mm-hmm.
pushing it through and budgets and everything.
Yeah, I think all that becomes an incorporation into the strategic plan as well.
But we need
So-
to ask too.
Yeah, we need to ask too, sooner rather than later.
City budget's in January and the park
Mhm.
district is in, yeah, let's ask about budget times too. It's not for a while, I know, but still, just to have it.
Pass that down to
Any comments about the interns?
Oh,
It's been wonderful. It really has been. So much work has been done. Unbelievable. And I'm really excited to have Jeremy for longer.
I think you have to say that this year in particular, this is probably the most work that the interns have ever accomplished. Jeremy is just an absolute work hog, but the two of them have had this competition to the point of just almost heat exhaustion.
Don't say that. It's
No,
not
you
true.
gotta slow them down. I mean, they just want to
take
go,
good care of them.
go.
I'm sure you
But what they've accomplished over the course of the summer is just
Yeah.
remarkable.
And what they've learned
yeah.
too, a lot. Yeah.
Would Gabby consider coming back next summer between her freshman and sophomore year?
I believe she would.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's actually chosen her 2 majors for college. One, 2 majors, of course, 5-year plan. So she's doing a major in restoration ecology and a major in wildlife biology.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's really nice. Yes. Okay, should we move on? Next, Commissioners Monitoring Program. I don't know, Jill, if you wanted to mention about that?
sure. I passed along an idea to Agnes the last time that we were at the Sedge Meadow. I proposed that I would monitor that site for her, not making any decisions, but just so she wouldn't have any surprises. To just take more frequent trips out there and to tell her, oh, we still have Teasel coming up, or something new is coming up, or anything that I notice, so that she doesn't have to keep running from each of the sites to know what's happening at each. So then Dana and Agnes discussed it and wanted to propose it to all of you, if we each wanted to grab or monitor each of our different project sites and then report back to her what we're noticing.
I think we kind of informally do that right now, but
Yeah.
to
We do.
make it official is a great idea. I would be happy to take.
I know what, because you send me texts all the time about Heron Pond, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
give you daily updates.
You do, give me updates, and And everybody does that sort of too, and has their like little favorite areas that they say, hey, I've noticed this, or that they visit more frequently, and I really appreciate it, because it is difficult to go to everywhere, and, you know, sometimes I don't get out there for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then I go there and I'm like, whoa, what just happened? Or I get pleasantly surprised, like, wow. But at least, you know, it would be good.
How do all of you feel about it? I know that you're working very hard, Peter. Well, we
good.
all work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I stop by Morano quite often, and the other areas.
I would certainly be willing to take on the Prairie or Morava, either one.
I'm open to whatever's left over.
You're hearing,
Well-
John said that he was.
oh, sorry.
John's got the,
Yeah, that's John's stomping ground.
Um,
called shotgun first.
What's left?
Okay, well, so Heron Pond is taken, Sedge Meadow by Jill, and then, so
The
then
Remnant
everybody
Prairie,
wants Morava, I hear.
There's the Remnant Prairie off of Palatine.
There's a
Road.
Remnant Prairie,
Have you been there yet?
Mhm.
Remnant Prairie, Morava, and the Seeded Prairie.
Well, Peter said Morava. He would do Morava.
Morava?
The Seated Prairie is that.
ComEd Prairie.
did you say nice-
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'll take that.
I could chip in on the Remnant Prairie too, on that, they're relatively,
Yeah,
Okay.
and you can tag team too.
So what do you have left over?
there's a bar that's ready for you.
Yeah, right. It's my form of
Uh,
sunscreen.
Remnant? You said that you would, that's
I-
the
I-
Remnant Palatine Road? That's what that one's called?
The Remnant off of Palatine
Remnant.
Road, yeah.
Would you be up for that?
I can monitor that patio area of
Yeah.
the snack bar.
Is Tully Park in there or anything?
No, Tully Park is not in there at all.
By
Although
the
I get
way-
updates from,
Well,
I
I,
mean, we
I
have-
work along with Wendy,
Yeah,
so
right. I
can
mean,
do
I-
Tully Park.
yeah, I mean, I get emails.
By the way,
and-
Wendy sent
They have
us
their
an
own
email that
monitoring
says,
program there.
Absolutely,
And
we
they're
should
once a
go
week
there and
also.
see what's going on. 'cause
Yeah.
it's
They're
amazing.
everywhere.
Yeah, it's
I run
just
around.
the height of everything.
Oh, we just
Really?
did it.
Color.
Just
Oh, nice.
over everything.
Yeah, I mean, they
It's
have their
very
own monitoring
different.
program, I feel like, you know. But it would be nice to go out there once in a while to see, because sometimes, you know, there might be invasives that you just, you know, like, oh, wow, they may not
Mhm.
notice, and they're gonna take over, so.
Do we leave out anything?
St. Al's, actually,
I can do that.
Ed can do
Well,
St.
okay.
Al's.
yeah.
Seth can do St. Al's, because he lives right near there.
Either one. Whatever.
We'll give you St. Al's.
That's, all right. And I'm.
You'll get a special
I'm
blessing
not
every time you
fighting
go.
Or resisting.
Yeah, and it's actually doing perfectly well. There's not much to,
Good. Well, so far, it's doing very well. I've heard.
So speaking of Heron Pond and monitoring, so they're reverse mowing the path there, I don't know if you know.
I know, you've mentioned it before. I just
We
haven't-
don't know who's doing that, actually.
Oh, maybe it's a resident?
It could be a residence
Yeah.
landscape crew.
Apparently, it's not the Park District.
Oh, okay.
So-
It looks really goofy.
I know. So the plan is, it's just that, you know, prioritizing, but to move those boards out to make it wide enough for the mower.
Yep.
And then to put no mow signs on both sides, and to take a string trimmer down the actual path that it's supposed to be, to delineate the fact that that's supposed to be the mowed area. And then to potentially herbicide both sides of the path and plant some long-rooted sedges or grasses.
Yeah.
And that way, that'll completely,
I think, yeah, I
Change
think
that.
the log borders we have down there probably need to go away.
completely, or just maybe widen, or,
I think they're confusing whoever's back there.
okay.
And then the other thing about the borders is, especially in an area where we want like a mowed path, and it, you know, that's like, almost like lawn type of grass that goes through there. It grows up around that, and it needs to be weed whacked and trimmed to make
Mhm.
it like look good. And so
Yeah.
unless we have someone, or unless we're gonna do that, or have someone do it.
Yeah, we're getting into
um, It gets into.
troubles with maintenance and
Right.
timing, and, yeah, right.
So, you know, the nice thing about the nature trail around the slough is it's becoming like a naturalized trail where it's already
Mhm.
formed. There's really no official borders. There's some new ones now, I know,
Mhm.
but that's all gonna grow, get overgrown as well. It's harder to maintain. Any path that we do should be at least as wide is a 40-age cutting depth on a rider mower, I think.
That's,
Well, that's,
I know, the
that
only
makes it-
reason over
it's
there, is-
practical.
On your side
The
on
only-
this one.
It's practical.
I know, just taking out a lot of land. But no, but in that area specifically, it's because the creek and the slough are so, there's not I don't know if there's 40 inches there, and if there is, then there's.
There is.
But it doesn't leave a lot of land for stabilization. But I understand your point, and it's not like we actually got to the stabilization anyway this year, so,
No, it's not functional right now,
no.
so,
So your suggestion is to just, well, what if we, for now at least, move it over and make it definitely like a 40-inch
yeah,
path?
we can do that.
And then try to plant some stuff, or if we plant some stuff, it'll grow in around it, so it'll be kind of like at the slough where it's mowed in the middle and vegetation's taller
Right.
around.
Does the commission own a lawnmower?
We use mine,
But it's a rider, right?
yeah,
How wide is the deck?
36.
So that's a narrow, mine's wider than that. But, so 36 would be the
Okay,
narrow.
38.
But is it easily transportable?
I have to drive it wherever it's going.
Yeah. I know occasionally we have.
Somebody,
The amount of time it would take to mow that path at Heron Pond is minutes, just a couple of minutes. And I know we often have money in our budget that we're wondering of sometimes the best way to spend the money. Maybe we have that. I mean, a lawnmower, I mean, it would literally take minutes if you put a
That's a
lawnmower
lot
in
of
the back
money.
of your trunk and drive over there and mow the path.
Well, I
For a
think the better
lawnmower.
option would be to get, figure out how to borrow from the city one of their mowers or the park district, either one. Because we're not employees of the park district, we can't do that.
Oh, we can't.
No, but the
because of
other
this
thing-
liability issue. but-
so, I mean, we've discussed this with the Park District, because they have been mowing that area for the longest time. The problem is, we did discuss it with them, except that whoever's other than them is mowing gets there before they do, and has been mowing it. So it's really just to prevent that person from mowing, so that the Park District can go in there, and also for them to have enough space to be able to mow the right path. But I think it makes sense for the park, right now, I mean, imagine us mowing all these areas, I mean, it's
No,
just,
it's-
we don't have
So
time
do-
for this,
so-
you
Park
know?
District land also here.
It's Park District land,
So
and-
it's, I guess we just got to re-clarify it to them again.
I mean, they have mowers, they have equipment, they have people, they normally mow, it's 2 minutes for them to go off of what they're already mowing and just go right
Let's
down in
let's
there.
But
start
you-
by clarifying it to the Park District.
All right, I'm going to ask Dino to meet us there again.
Well, and let me suggest as well, if a resident's getting there first, I think we might need to do some public outreach there.
Well, we just turned that over to Christine, and she deals with them directly.
Oh, okay.
We don't know that for a fact either. do we?
What?
That the residents are mowing back there?
No, but the park district has told us once before they're not doing it. So what we need to do is meet Dino and absolutely 100% verify that they're
And
not
clarify,
doing it.
and,
Yeah,
And then let him take it back to Christina to try to curb the behavior. And then we need to go in there and line it out and make it very clear what gets mowed and what doesn't.
So these do not mow signs are up and ready to go?
yeah, do we have them?
We have them, yeah.
Assuming the person is of good intention, and just doesn't know where to mow, that we could put those signs up. That'd be-
Totally, absolutely,
Mhm.
definitely. Just
Yeah.
haven't,
We need a mow here sign.
No mow.
mow, no mow.
I just don't want us to get into like, that sort of like buying a mower and coming
Yeah.
back like from work and getting on the mower and mowing all these areas.
All right, and then just one little extra thing, the little peninsula that goes out in Heron Pond,
Mhm.
I think a footpath access out onto that peninsula would be a good thing. It's impassable now,
Yeah,
and, you want people still to get out there and use it, and I don't think a narrow footpath would be too destructive as far as what we've done there. There's a lot of great stuff growing in there right now.
yep.
But again, would the park district then maintain that, or who,
The path I
It
like
would
us
be-
to
it would be
maintain.
us.
Oh, okay.
I mean, as long as we have an intern, that's great,
Right.
But I just know like last
If we ever
year.
do a workday out there, that could easily be done on a workday.
Yeah,
Sure, just as.
but then it has to be maintained, right? But it still has to be maintained.
There's a lot of wood chips over there.
There is.
Yep.
Yeah,
Piles.
like piles of.
Be mine too.
All right, so maybe what we do is, the workday after this one, maybe we go back to Aaron Pond. What do you think?
Sure, I guess.
Okay.
But if there's seed to collect, I'll be collecting it. I'm taking a few days off of work.
I'm sure.
Just to bring back an earlier topic, I think that's just, if I may say, it speaks strongly to the need to have someone whose full-time job is to maintain all that we're creating.
Oh, absolutely. You know, but, I mean, 4 years ago, we didn't have an intern. And, you know, and I was taking off a week of work to do certain of these activities, and all of us were contributing. We have this volunteer, wonderful volunteers that have, like, picked up so much, and I feel really lucky that we have this volunteer program, I mean, and the internship program, that we've been allowed to have these interns, and we've had volunteers donating money to have the internship program. I absolutely agree with all of that. I hope we're not asking for maybe too much too soon, I guess. I don't know.
Mhm.
Okay. let's move
All right, let's move on.
St. Alphonsus update.
St. Alphonsus looks amazing, absolutely amazing. It's only in its first year. There's liatris blooming.
Excuse me, isn't this my responsibility?
Yeah. So I'm going to update you, Ed, so
Okay.
you can just like,
Could you handle it for me?
yeah.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. It really is. All the plants that we planted last year, with their help, are blooming, and they are very excited, and they are going to help us with our seed collection season. They're excited to come out and collect seed for us. I don't know, Jill, if you've had a chance to see it over there, but it's pretty nice right now.
It is very nice.
Yeah, so, and all the little seedlings are coming up. It's just, I'm shocked. It's, yeah, no weeds, no invasives.
I concur.
Concur. It's sort of one of those things, like the things you wish for when you try to restore a site, but sometimes you get the bad things come in and you have to deal with it. This is like the perfect example of a nice restoration there. And it's only its first year. It'll just get better.
A little bit better. Okay, the lake resident update. This is Luke that came to us on behalf of his dad. And then we went out and looked at it. He wasn't there. We tried to contact him. It turns out they went to India for a month, and so they came back. Agnes and I met with him that night. They had something very different in mind. He had staked out where his property line used to be, and it was 15 feet out into the water. So he's lost 15 feet of his property. What they really had in mind was they wanted to put a log barrier out there, fill it with dirt, and then plant on top of it. He wanted to reclaim his land.
That was eroded
We
away.
said, that is not going to happen, and we're not going to help you do that. So at that point, we gave him our suggestions. We left some
Information, pictures, and
said, if you decide you want to help, we can talk about that. So that's where we left it.
we basically talked about preventing further erosion and what can be done and the things that.
So that's where we left it with him, and I don't suspect we'll hear anything else about it.
But it may be taken back to the city for,
What if he decides to go ahead with his plans, though?
oh, he can't.
Oh,
He
he'll be in a
can't.
lot of trouble.
No, he needs to, we made it sure that this is a big deal, and it would require permitting and permission from the city and all of these things, and it's very unlikely to happen.
Well,
so-
then it wouldn't work long-term.
No, it would, no,
anyways. It would-
no.
And is his house on one side, and then you have the road, and then you have the land that he's lost?
No,
No.
it's his side yard.
Yeah, it's just,
His house well, the front door faces east, but his house faces towards Owen Court.
yes, it's like the side backyard, that's
Side
it's
backyard.
directly abutting the lake.
Right. Okay, Poplar Creek Stewart's Seed Collecting Day. Agnes?
Has not been determined yet, but I will speak with John tomorrow since we'll be there.
We'll see them
But
tomorrow.
seed collection, I think they just started last Sunday.
To reiterate, they've invited us to come out and collect seed for our purposes to use on our projects. So, very generous again.
Very generous, and comes a long way.
Just on that, so, like, what day of the week or weekend, or what type of days do you look for that?
I think it would make sense to have it on their regular workday, and
Okay.
their regular workdays are always alternating with ours.
Okay.
They've always been like that, because
So it'd be a
before I
Sunday
used to.
morning sometime.
Right,
Oh.
on an alternate workday from ours, because for the longest time, I would volunteer here on Sunday and the next Sunday there.
Just so, you know, if it's like a weekday morning where like we're working and stuff, it's
Yeah,
always.
we could add one of those days, though, if somebody can't come on a weekend, but
No,
I was
I'm saying
thinking-
the weekends are probably
yeah.
the best.
yes, so it would be on an off Sunday, other than our workday.
Okay.
Or they actually have alternating Saturdays and Sundays, they work every week. So if somebody couldn't make a Saturday, we can even do 2 days, where it's like a Saturday and then the next week a Sunday.
Okay.
But then it would fall with our regular work days.
Okay, we'll know more tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways to do it. We could do like a weekend of Poplar Creek, and it's an on-off week from our work days, I guess. I don't know, we'll see. But I was thinking weekends. Does that make sense?
Jill, you want to update us on the McDonald Creek Commission?
The McDonald Creek Commission canceled their July 24th meeting, and their next scheduled meeting is Tuesday evening, August 28th.
Okay. You want to bring us up to date on the outreach and presentations too, Jill?
Yes, we received 2 contacts, one from the Mount Prospect Garden Club. This is the November 14th date. They did send us a contract, which I will complete. Agnes has reviewed it. Basically asking us what our supplies are and et cetera. So they are looking at, they have the date of November 5th. I just saw that. I thought it was November 14th. It's November 5th at 1 PM. And I did tell her, she said an hour, and I said we could use an extra half hour for questions and answers, given by how long our presentation resulted with the Northtown Garden Society.
November 5th is a Monday at 1 PM.
It is a Monday? Okay.
That's tough.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really tough.
I thought it was the 14th.
Are they, can they do any, like, evening type of things? or-
It was the 14th, I thought it was a Wednesday.
Unless she has the date wrong.
14th would be a Wednesday.
I will have to do that.
That's what I remember too, is 14.
Yeah, I remember it was on a Wednesday. I mean, with that much time ahead, I could probably make arrangements, but I don't know.
No, I'll go back to her and ask her.
All of us should be, did Wednesday worked for pretty much everybody? Well, it worked for
Wednesdays I
me.
can make, Mondays they're really hard.
Wednesday, right, that's why Wednesday was important, I guess, too.
Okay.
An evening meeting would be
Even better, I know, I don't know about that, but.
And then Beverly Crams from the Cook County Master Gardeners wrote me again. They are still looking at doing a field trip to the slough on either September 14th or 19th, and those are both Wednesdays.
Anytime, or,
She,
September 14th and 19th can't both.
I told her that we would
12th.
review the dates at our meeting today and confirm to her which date would work best. But I think we're pretty flexible on either date.
I think that's mostly, excuse me, it's mostly Agnes, it's her availability, right?
well, all of us could be present, and
Sure, but, I mean, the default is you're going to give the tour, so.
I would prefer the 12th. I happen to know that I'm covering on the 19th.
Well, then it has to be the 12th if she's covering offices on the 19th.
That doesn't have to be me leading the tour either.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You leading the tour.
Yeah, I would definitely,
You would prefer the 12th?
I would, but I
Okay,
don't know.
that's
With
fine.
everybody else.
No, that's
I
fine.
mean, somebody else could do it if you want a really boring, stale, uninformed presentation.
But
Thanks,
you'll all
Ed.
be there for support, of course.
What time is it again?
It would be during the day, of course, because they want to come during a time when plant and animal life are visible. They would like a discussion, then proceed to the area. They're expecting a group of between 15 to 20 people.
That's nice.
We can incorporate like a little snack picnic or something.
Maybe we could have them help us do some seed collecting too, while they're with us.
Well,
No, they want the full-on experience.
Oh, absolutely.
tour.
Yeah, 20 minutes of seed collection for 15 people. Oh my gosh, that's like 10 hours of seed collection for one.
Okay, cool. So you'll
That's great.
confirm that
12.
and verify the other one, Joe?
Yes.
I don't know about the time. What time, I mean, if you participate, what time works for most people on a Wednesday? If you
Noon.
want to participate? Noon?
Noon for me.
Do you want to walk
Anytime.
anytime?
What day?
Wednesday, the
Wednesday,
12th,
12.
September.
I can make that
You mean have them come right at 12?
I
Oh,
don't
you
know.
could start earlier, but I
Started,
couldn't
but you would
get
be there
till
at 12,
noon.
okay.
So
Mhm.
maybe start at 11.
It takes about an hour and a half for the whole thing.
10:30.
10:30, and then followed by like a light snack or something at noon.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay.
You'll get good reviews if you feed them.
If you give them water too.
Okay, visitor comments. Peter, you got anything? Okay, we're done.
Okay.
I move, make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
All right,
Aye.
Joe. Okay.
Meeting